It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
So let's talk about 40-year-olds. Now, I resemble this for a few more years. I mean,
You're still. It still counts as mid.
Just had a birthday not too long ago.
You just had a birthday, but you're still in your mid-40s.
I'm solid in the middle to head to late right now. I mean, we're getting close. So this really is the time, and this is why I feel like it's nice when you live through something and you kind of can give more perspective, because that's where wisdom comes. Experience creates wisdom. So this is the point where really you are figuring out, is this a celebration or is this, oh my goodness, how has it gone so wrong moment? It really is that type of fork in the road moment. So that's why I really picked on my 20-year-olds. I picked on my 30-year-olds. I'm trying to bully you almost. I know it's a negative connotation, but I am trying to will you into actions so that you can have success in your 40s. Because this was the period of time where I felt like I had to turn in my tightwad card.
But it was a good thing.
It's because I was a celebration.
You got the privilege of turning in
It's
your tightwad
exactly
card.
right. And that's what, and I've told this before and I'll share it. I told my wife in the 20s, I told her in the 30s, we're going to sacrifice certain things so that in our 40s, we can evaluate and maybe take our foot off the gas. And I've honored that, and I would encourage you to also have those type of discussions with your significant other too. So let's see what the profile of the average 40-year-old looks like.
So again, average American, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Federal Reserve, and Fidelity, average income for someone in their 40s is just under about $51,000 a year. Now in the 40s, they have wisened up because their savings rate is now, it's not in the sevens anymore, it's now 8.38%. We still have issue with that, but at least it's improving. It's almost like that procrastination thing you said is happening. The median net worth for someone in their 40s is just shy of six figures. It's $94,800. But the total debt for folks in their 40s has now grown to about $92,000 on average.
Wow. So I at least like seeing those numbers on the net worth getting close to six figures. Still not enough, guys.
That's right.
It's just not enough. And so let's talk about what you should focus on. What you should focus on previously, I talked about the components of a net worth statement. You know, I had people, I was worried about your debt with liabilities. I was worried about assets. But actually in your 40s, I think you have to focus on the bottom line. This is the culmination of where you're putting together the vision plan to know if you are on track to where you need to be in life. So this is where you need to focus on, how am I doing? What am I working to? What's the actual plan? What is the number that sits on top of me that tells what my financial independence figure is?
Now, I'm not really giving my folks in the 20s and 30s a pass, but in the 40s, you get no pass. If you're not tracking your annual net worth statement, if you're not doing the exercise, you are missing the stinking boat.
Yeah, because this is the age. If you're not spot checking, because I'm telling you, the decisions you made in your 20s, your 30s are very important, but the 40s is when you can evaluate if you're going to hug yourself or if you're going to panic, and you need to say, this is the time. I still got 20 years before I retire. Let's get off the can and actually start making things happen. Let's kick ourselves into shape.
And you always say this is the part where you get to define the role in the movie of your life. Are you going to be an active participant, or are you just going to sit back and let life happen to you, right?
Yeah, because it is. It's one of those things. Is this going to be a comedy? Because maybe we all made mistakes in our 20s and 30s. Is this going to be an adventure because you're building up so you can travel and you've taken some risk maybe with starting a business? Or is this going to be a straight up nightmare because you just ignored all the big decisions you should have made, and now this is your wake up and reality check?
When you're in your 40s, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you are more mature than your 30 and 20-year-old counterpart. So now, as you make big life decisions, you can now start thinking about them in the context of, how does this impact my long-term net worth statement? Is this thing that I'm doing, will it be a net plus long-term, or is it going to be a big net negative long-term?
And that's what I would tell you. This is because you probably are making a decent living in your 40s if you've made good career decisions. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly
so
right.
I want you to think about things, because this is just because the banker or the mortgage company will tell you you can afford the second home, you can afford the boat, which is a bankruptcy on a trailer. You know, there's all kind of things like that will be distractions that will be a potential for you. Make sure you're not letting these things blow you up. And then there's life decisions too. Divorce, if you want to see your net worth go to half.
That's right.
Divorce, big decisions like that. So I know that this is the age of midlife crises in the 40s. just make sure you're really thinking about all components, and is the grass as green as it looks when you're making those type of life decisions.
Now, you've already mentioned, Brian, in your 20s and 30s, it's kind of the easy money train. Once you get to your 40s, it's still good money. I would argue that it's not necessarily easy money anymore. So let's look at the army of dollar bills. What you can see is if you've waited until your 40s to get started, to begin accumulating your $1 million goal, you have to save $780 a month starting at the time you turn 40. So if you do that from 40 all the way until 65, you will have now put in the pot $234,000, almost $250,000, but you still got to $1 million.
Yeah.
$766,000 of that is your army of dollar bills working for you.
Well, what I think is interesting about it, and I know we can't spend a ton of time on it, but back when I first heard that $100 a month will make you a millionaire, I worked in fast food. I worked at a drive-through at Hardee's down in Georgia, and I even then knew I could save $100 a month. What I think about this from a saving standpoint, if you're going from zero to get to $1 million, these numbers are starting still, even at 30, 270 seems somewhat reasonable. But I will tell you guys, 40 is probably the last stop on reasonable if you're starting from zero, because yes, $1,000 a month, because it's actually $780, is doable, but this is the last stop. You better make sure you're getting on the savings train, putting it to work, because use that 20 to 25 years of compounding interest before you reach retirement. This is it, guys. Make the decision. So let's give them a spot check, Bo, so we can kick them in the rear or either let them celebrate.
So again, as an average American, between 40 to 49, the median net worth is somewhere starting around 65,000, going all the way up to about 118,000. However, if you want to be an average accumulator of wealth, and this is where you get to the true formula. You take your age,
this is the millionaire
times
next
your
door
income,
formula.
the millionaire next door, age times income divided by 10. To be an average accumulator of wealth, your net worth in your 40s should be somewhere around 202,000 when you start, going to about 250,000 by the time you leave this decade. But we think you ought to be a prodigious accumulator of wealth, and that would be a net worth somewhere around 400,000 at the beginning of your 40s, crossing over the $500,000 mark at the end of your 40s if you're an average income earner.
So guys, don't neglect the formula. Bo just told you that, because a lot of you guys are going to look at this, you're going to say, well, I've got more than $400,000, or I got more than $500,000. But that does not give you, how does that reflect your actual income, your actual life? So make sure you're not only looking at the numbers we're providing, but also using your actual formula, because it's so important. It is your age times your income divided by 10. That is the net worth formula by Millionaire Next Door of what they expect. But this is what I love about the 40s. As Bo said, this is the first decade that does not require you to take an adjustment like we had to do for 20s and 30-year-olds. So focus on that. So important.